Imagine you thought you knew everything about your family, but you learned that it's only half of what's really true. In Postcards of No Man's Land by Aidan Chambers, a boy goes to Amsterdam and he learns something about his grandfather who served in World War II that changes his life. Okay, so this is the body. I wrote a lot, so there's no way that I can memorize it. So I'm sorry everyone, but this is me reading off a script. Okay, so here's the summary, what this book is about, all right? So it's told in two parts. First, we have Jacob, who's 17-year-old from England, who's headed to Amsterdam to attend a ceremony honoring the Battle of Arnhem, where his grandfather, who's also named Jacob, fought in World War II. Jacob is expecting to learn more about his grandfather's heroics, but what he finds is a lot more complicated than what he imagined. He stays with a Dutch family, and through a series of events, he uncovers the story of Geertrude. I'm gonna just call her Gertrude, all right? It's probably the American version of the name, because there's no way I can say that. And she's an elderly woman at the time who used to care for his wounded grandfather during World War II. Her story takes us back to a time when Amsterdam was under Nazi control and every day was a fight for survival. As Jacob reads Gertrude's journal, he discovers that his grandfather and Gertrude weren't just connected by the war, they fell in love. This revelation shakes Jacob, forcing him to rethink everything he thought he knew about his family and his own identity. At the same time, he's navigating his own challenges in Amsterdam, meeting new people like Dan and Ton, getting lost in the canals of Amsterdam, and finding himself in situations that make him question who he really is. Here's the setting. Okay, so it's in Amsterdam. It's unique because it's split between two timelines. We got modern day, which is vibrant, full of canals, bikes, and lots of history, deep history. You can almost feel the buzz of tourists in the book, the hum of bikes, the peaceful flow of canals as Jacob explores the city. It's about discovery and self-reflection. Then there's Amsterdam during World War II, which is dark, dangerous, and mysterious. Gertrude's story pulls us into this world where every decision could mean life or death. The contrast between these two versions of Amsterdam adds a lot of depth to the story. It helps us to see how much the city has changed, and yet how the past still lingers in it, affecting both Jacob and Gertrude in different ways. There's a lot of key moments in this book that make it stand out. One of them is when Jacob finds Gertrude's journal, and he reads about who his grandfather really was. Instead of a war hero, he was a man madly in love. So that's crazy. He gets robbed in the beginning of the book when he first gets to Amsterdam. He met a new person named Ton, who he's trying to find a girlfriend, but in reality, he got set up and he got robbed and he got embarrassed. So that's no good. Let's talk about the characters that drive this story. Jacob starts off as a blank slate. We know nothing about him, right? Typical teenager. He's not sure of himself, and he's just going through the motions. But as he learns more about his grandfather and meets people like Dan and Ton, he starts to change. He becomes more introspective. He becomes more curious about life. Main characters, Gertrude. She's from the town of Oosterbeek in Netherlands, but she moves to Amsterdam in the end. So how she met Jacob, which is Jacob's grandfather. He's named after him. So basically, he got wounded by shrapnel, and she was just a civilian, but she was, helping. I guess they call that the resistance. So she helped him recover from his injuries. He couldn't walk, and at one point, he had to get transported in a wheelchair from Oosterbeek to the border of Belgium, which took about 3 days. They shot a German soldier on the way, and once they got to the farm, at a point in time, it got raided by Germans. They almost got found, and then at the end, they started to fall in love, all that stuff. I'm not really interested in that, but that's what happens with Gertrude. She has a lot of depth to her. Very interesting character. Okay, I'm almost done. Conclusion. Okay, I wrote this all. So why should you read Postcards from No Man's Land by Aidan Chambers? It's not just about a story or a war or a teenager's trip abroad. It's a story about how the past shapes the present, discovering hidden truths about the complicated, messy nature of love and identity. It's a book that makes you think, and it makes you feel, makes you see the world a little differently. If you're into books that mix historical fiction with love, that challenge you to think deeply about life, then this book is definitely for you. And if you like this book, some of his other books are This Is All Pillow, the Pillow Book of Cordelia Ken, which explores the inner life of a teenage girl through her writings, or Dying to Know You, a novel about understanding and expressing emotions. Both books like this one deal with the complexity of growing up and finding your place in the world, which is perfect for a teenager. But the thing is, I'm not really into books like this. I'm more into like nonfiction. But yeah, that's it. Thank you. One last thing. The reason why I chose this background is because Gertrude used to get bombed every day. So she had to hide in her basement. And obviously, this is a basement. So yeah.